this we will look at inshallah in the MAM seminar next month, and hopefully if you can make it, I'll be happy to see you face to face, and we'll look at those things in detail. And thank you very much. This is my my contact details. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Wali Zahid. Folks, if you have questions, you can raise your hand. There's a hand icon available on your webinar console. So if you raise your hand, I will be able to give you an opportunity to speak with Mr. Zahid. Or you could equally post your questions in the question box or chat box. So there's a hand icon, you can raise it and I can give you an opportunity to speak to him. Okay, we have some questions being popped up. There's this one question from Brother Malik Hussain, who's asked, does the rapid and continuous developments and advancement in the technology can be termed as one of the causes of derailment? And can it be overcome, managed through an efficient and elaborate T&D?
Okay, so is it my opportunity to talk?
Yeah. Yes, so now you can, the question number on Mr. Abid Hussain.
Sure, okay. So if you're talking about like everybody within the organization, or only the CEOs, or only the senior management? So let me talk to both. Let me talk about both. At everybody's level, for example, early managers or middle managers or senior managers, I think they grow with technology, which means, so as the technology comes, and there's also an adaptation period, because adaptability is also highlighted in many of the studies, so which means that can become a derailer. But they get sufficient opportunity to adapt to that, because stakes are not really that high. But let's talk about senior executives or CEOs, because suddenly they didn't have a smartphone, say a year before or 2 years before, and suddenly there's a BlackBerry or there's an iPhone or there's a Samsung in their hands, and now they are having this 24-hour access to their colleagues, which means if they don't develop a skill set very, very quickly, it might prove to be a derailer. So my short answer would be, as the new technology comes, one, develop a skill set, also develop and find out what the coping mechanism could be, and then also develop a mechanism which suits your needs. So which means, if you can't deal with a 24-hour email cycle, you tell everybody who deals, all stakeholders, that I wouldn't reply to my emails after, for example, 6 o'clock. So they would know. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another question raised from Brother Muhammad Yunus. Brother Yunus, can you hear us?
Yes.
Mr. Yunus, could you please introduce yourself and then ask the question to Mr. Zahid?
Yeah, actually, I'm not from the management side. I am basically a telecom engineer. Okay, Bahrain. Okay, and we are facing some management problems and issues, and through this webinar, I can pinpoint. I am not in decisive position, but I can pinpoint through this webinar, like some aspects which Mr. Wali has told. So how can I tell the management, though I cannot approach them properly? Like, these are the deficiencies, these are the problems which taking the company downward. And another thing, should the CEOs and leaders should take such studies to improve their organizations, so far as their infrastructure and the human resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yunus. I think what you are mentioning is a contextual issue. So there are organizations which allow people at any level to give feedback. So there are like open town hall meetings, and there is this open feedback culture. So anybody can tell anybody that this is going right or this is not going right. But I guess in a high context culture, where probably you are working in a small enterprise, that may not be the norm. No, I really don't know how you can deal with that effectively or in a politically correct manner. Maybe you can create a forum which may be called learning and sharing forum. So highlight to your HR or your chief executive that we are a small company, but we want to have a forum which deals with these issues, where we are going and whether we are going in a right direction or not. So maybe you have probably a low risk forum which doesn't intimidate people, and this is how you start a discussion process in that. I think another clever idea could be that you you search something on internet, you find a very useful article which deals with these issues, and just pass it on to a few senior managers. So just say, I have read it and I think very useful, I really found it useful. Maybe you would like it. So it's a non-threatening manner. This is how you start a conversation. So somebody down in the hierarchy, I really do not know how they can start a process, a discussion process which is useful, without them becoming a casualty. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yunus, is it okay, or you have any supplementary question or supplementary?
So nice of you. It's very, he pinpointed, 2 points which are very, useful for me actually, because I'm not in position to approach CEO. Okay. So, but the pinpoints he gave to me, he pointed out a couple of things which I can, raise through the forum or through, some, studies like I have studied like this, or I have heard like this. So how we can, make things much better what we are in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me move down. I notice Mr. Khurshid. Mr. Khurshid, can you hear us? Hello, Mr. Khurshid. Okay. Okay. I think he has. Mr. Khurshid has rather put some questions in the chat box. There are a couple of them, so let me pick. Who should watch executive derailing in the organization, and who to advise them to go for counseling?
Khurshid is asking that who we watch, ourselves or others?
Who should watch within the organizations, I believe that she's asking.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think that's very interesting. So what's the entry point? So is it the HR? Is it the chief executive? Is it the line manager? So we really do not know where the entry point could be, but that could come from anybody. So if there is a CEO who has plenty of time because they're already meeting their results, the revenue results, and they have good cash flows, there is no fighting every day. So maybe they can watch that there are early warning signals in certain executives within this organization. So that could be an entry point. Another entry point could be your HR department, which means through the annual performance appraisal, although I usually dismiss appraisal process, the annual appraisal process. But let's say the data has come from there, or the 360-degree feedback, there's a data. So they can highlight to collectively that these are the people who probably need some coaching or counseling. There could also be, I think the most effective could be a line manager, because everybody has a line manager above them. And by line manager means somebody who is managing you. So which means there's line manager for everybody, and they watch their own herd or their own sheep, for example. So they know that probably this team member was doing very fine so far. So what's happening? So if there's a low stake, for example, certain, say, low performance because something has happened at home, or there's a health issue, or there's a stress element within that individual. So that shouldn't worry, or that wouldn't merit the derailment intervention. But if it's ongoing and if it's excessive, so probably that's where a line manager would seek an HR support and say, we need something to do with this individual. Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have another one from Ms. Tasneem Jamil. She's asked, any significant change in trend causes of derailment in both genders, men's versus women's? Early signals different in both?
Okay, I think I could have mentioned that because when I looked at that, most of my webinar participants were men, so I emphasize on the men part. But there's also a study which is done by Ashridge, which looks at career derailers for women. So there is an element of gender derailment, which means as contextual derailers are different, similarly there are derailers which are related to gender which are different. An example, work-family balance. This may be a low-level derailer for a male CEO, but this could be a significant derailer for a female CEO if her children or her family or her home is being neglected. So there are certain aspects which will deal. Similarly, aiming to please everybody. So this has been studied that this affects women more because in organizations they have not to just please others because they want their support for their ideas. They have to seek acceptance. Seek approval from their male colleagues, but they have to do an extra mile because there's also being a gender, there's a disadvantage. So I think there is a literature which deals with two genders differently.
Okay. She has supplemented with another one.